Climbers, think of the last time you moved. It was tiring, right? At the end of one single moving day, are you motivated to then go to work or be creative?
Mm-mm.
No, that's right. At best, you're
No.
exhausted and overwhelmed. At worst, you're flustered and irritable. Disrupting your life groove is incredibly debilitating. This is similar to what happens in our minds when we switch between tasks multiple times on a daily basis. What is the cost of switching your focus throughout the day? It's a phenomenon called the switch cost effect. And today we're going to define this occurrence and give you 5 solutions to avoid or lessen the effects.
Woo, let's go.
This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. It's all about you. And artists, you should love that. For the first time ever, it's all about you, which comes with another caveat. You gotta do it.
Yes.
It's all about you, and you gotta do it. But when you do it, you create leverage. And when you create leverage, everybody comes out of the woodwork, and they want to work with who? You. They want to be all about you. And nobody's going to mess with your art. It's all good stuff. That's why we called it the C.L.I.M.B, C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. That's a backshroom from my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter. Brent's an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady A, Joe Nichols, and more. He's got number ones in Southern Gospel. He's got top tens in Texas, top tens in Australia. He's nationwide. He's worldwide. He's everything that you want to be. And that's why. but what's more exciting is that I can't believe I can barely talk and I'm dragging this out. This is so stupid.
I know. It's just like, now is not the time to be dragging stuff out.
Songwriters like you turn pro by revealing how you write like a pro, do business like a pro, and then he gets you in touch with the pros on a regular basis. You can find Brent at songwritingpro.com.
And I'd like to introduce you to my horse co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production, and he also owns a set of not very well-working vocal cords at the moment. Daredevil is breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. If you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, then Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production singular, no S, and there's no S because there is no other Johnny D.
How you living?
Man, I got to tell you, I appreciate the fact that you are hoarse. This is not the time you want to be talking, but it's your episode. So what does a professional do? He powers through because we got good stuff to bring to climbers out there. And so thank you for taking one for the team and doing this episode.
You're welcome.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. It's a weird problems, but I'm supposed to have my yearly physical, and I go to make an appointment with the doctor, and all of a sudden I can't go to my doctor anymore because they switched. My insurance doesn't cover that, so I had to find a new doctor. And in between the period that happened, I ran out of this nasal spray that I take that keeps everything from dripping into my post-nasal drip into my throat and into my lungs. So it's got a little out of hand. It'll take me a couple of days to get it back together again. But I'm okay.
Well, that puts me in a totally different picture of what's going on in the back of your throat, and that's gross. But thank you for sharing. Sorry about that. Hope that clears up soon.
Just go my voice box, right? Remember when I had this for like 6 months or 7 months?
I do not. I don't remember anything. My whole life is a blur.
Dude, I finally had to go to an ENT, and he scoped it, and because I thought I had nodes, and I was really scared,
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I got good news and bad news, and I said, oh God, what's the good news? He's like, you don't have nodes. I'm like, oh, that's good. Like, what's the bad news? He goes, look at this, and he just like makes one of those faces like, he turns the monitor around on my voice box like fire engine red. And it was combo platter of post-nasal drip. And believe it or not, you guys, for anybody that suffers with this, it's what do you call it? Not heartburn, but
acid reflux?
It's reflux. But sometimes you have reflux that you can't feel, so you don't feel like you have heartburn. You don't feel like you have reflux, but you do. So he gave me like these 2 prescriptions, one for my stomach and one to stop the stuff from dripping in my throat.
You're getting it from both ends, man. Coming at your voice box from top and bottom.
after 6 months of not being able to talk a couple of years ago, all of a sudden I got my voice back. It was amazing, and here I am again, but that's because I ran out of one of them. So I'm good.
There we go.
But
All right. So
anyway,
what are we talking about today?
dude,
Switching
switch.
cost.
Yeah, like as a creative thing, um, I wanted to do this because for a number of reasons, so that to make everybody aware of and hopefully more productive, but also might even help with your relationships and stuff. I think getting this point across to like Janelle when we first started dating, it was it was foreign to her, like the
Mm-hmm.
way that the creative mind works and
Hmm.
how expensive it is essentially emotionally and creatively to come out of the rabbit hole you're in and switch over to answer a question about anything other than what you're focused on.
Yes.
So we're gonna dig into it a little bit. And I just found it absolutely fascinating, and I think it'll be eye opening when you find out by doing certain things how much time you're actually wasting, how non-productive you're being. So. We're gonna
Awesome.
go there. Before we do that, let's take care of a little business here. Join the Climb community if you haven't done so already. It's at facebook.com/groups/the Climb community. You have to
Mm-hmm.
ask to be let in. We let everybody in unless you look weird or
Hmm.
suspect. Um, and that's not subjective. It's just really like you just open up your Facebook account. Do you look like you're trying to sell siding? That kind of stuff.
Then just
That's what.
drop Johnny a message and be like, or if there's a spot to answer questions, be like, hey, I'm like for reals. I'm a real person and listen. Thank you. And
Yeah,
that's all you
yeah.
need to do.
That's right. That's all you got
Just
to
let
do.
us know you're real,
And
just not a
and then
bot.
we let you in, and it's a thriving community, man. We want to hear, we want to celebrate you, and the way that you're celebrated is by putting all the stuff you want to post. That if it's informational, if it's comedic, if it's whatever, it's like some brilliant clip of somebody else doing something, put that in the feed. But otherwise, all your stuff, put it as a comment on the post. We want to hear about your new music on Monday. We want to hear about your gigs on Thursday. And on
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday, on the regular, we post Wednesday wins. So
That's
this is
right.
where you get to talk it up. What do we got going on?
All right. So, yes, every Wednesday we post the new heights and we encourage you to share some of your wins as a comment so we know where the party is and we can celebrate with you. So we got a couple this week. Climber Taylor Hughes says, super excited to share with you all that I won Female Vocalist of the Year. My song Jesus and Jail won Song of the Year at the 10th Annual Lexi Music Awards in Kentucky. So congratulations, Taylor. Of course, you have
Congrats.
people hopping on there to congratulate her as we tend to do. Why do they hop on to congratulate her? Because she put it as a comment in the post so people know where to find it and where the party is. So we got that. So that's awesome, Taylor. We also have Bill O'Hanlon, Climber, says, finish my 72nd song for the year. And y'all, it's like only March 7th, the day we record this. And his 112th cut, not for the year, but total, came out the other day. And I have a few more cuts on the way in the next week or so. Got a song on a movie soundtrack. And I'm having a book release party with some hit songwriter friends coming out to support me in Nashville next month. Johnny D said he'd be there. So if I were
That's
in
right.
town that day, I would be there as well. But
I'm
so,
gonna
Bill, a
come.
lot of good stuff happening there. A lot of other fun stuff happening. Climbers getting wins all over the place. And congratulations. Keep on climbing. And speaking of, like, Taylor won an award, we're up for an award. There are a couple days left to vote.
Yeah.
The Climb has been nominated for an Arkansas Country Music Award. Why an Arkansas Country Music Award? Because this boy is an Arkansan and proud of it. And
Yes.
we have been nominated. The Climb Show has been nominated for Best Publication, Blog, Podcast for the Arkansas Country Music Awards for 2024. The voting window is open now. It closes. Last day to vote is March 14th at the end of the day, March 14th. So don't forget, you got a couple days to go. You can vote at arkansasmusic.org, and then there'll be a nice shiny box there to vote. And I've got some friends in there, so see some familiar names. Lance Carpenter, friend of the show. He's been
Yep.
a guest on the Song Title Challenge. He's up for
Aaron.
things. Erin Enderlin, which I wrote Monday Morning Church with. She's up for stuff. Casey Penn, who's bluegrass artist that I've been writing with lately, so I'm rooting for her. Janae Fleener, who's man, she's on tour, doing on a ton of records, fiddleist. She's plays for Blake Shelton and his band, and she and I've written before. She's a hoot, and so just a lot of fun stuff going on there. So I'm looking forward to getting your vote. So maybe we got a chance to win one, because I would like to bring home some hardware. So it's an honor to be nominated, but we want to win.
Yeah. That's right. Oh, and by the way, because I had this, like, I didn't know except for Aaron uh,
Lance.
and Lance, I didn't know anything else on that list, and I'm
Yeah,
like, I don't want to vote because,
just cause.
well, not because I'm a jerk. I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
I don't have to pay. I'm completely unaware. So you don't have to vote for anything else if you don't want to. You know what I mean?
right.
Like,
Yeah,
you can
if you
go there
don't
and just
feel,
find us and vote on that, and it's good. You know?
yeah, if you don't feel educated on that and don't want to throw a vote to someone who may not
Yeah.
actually be your, yeah, feel free. You don't have to.
And if you want to get educated on all of them, God bless. Go and do it. You
There's
know.
some good stuff there. So that's arkansasmusic.org.
So I got to win too,
Mm-hmm.
man. We got connected with Judge Dan Stidham out of Paragould, Arkansas,
Oh
who
yeah,
is the father of one of like my very best corporate client.
yeah.
Also happens to be. Have you ever heard of the West Memphis Three?
Of course, I have. We talked about it on the show a
Mur-
couple times here,
That's right. That's
but
right. The murder
yes.
case. Yeah. So he just released a book a few
Mm-hmm.
months ago for first time in 30 years, and he
Mm-hmm.
was one of the defense attorneys for the one of the three boys in the West Memphis Three that got
Mm-hmm.
international attention. It
Oh
was
yeah, I
like
remember when that
literally,
happened. I was not far from there at college at Arkansas State.
yeah.
Which, by the way, I just told y'all I went to college like 30 years ago, but whatever. Can we edit that out?
It was crazy. But anyway, his book. So we just signed a shopping agreement for Hollywood with him with that through some connections that I had. So
Nice.
they're gonna take that book and do try to sell a series on it for him.
Wow.
And it's like I'm helping to promote the book, and that was one of the things that we did. But it's kind of fun. We got the contract signed, and um, my boy's super excited about it out in Hollywood. So I'm stoked about that. You know.
Very cool. Very cool. So,
Yeah.
wins all the way around. So, let's dive into this before your voice leaves us.
Yeah.
So,
So,
switching
um,
cost.
yeah, the best way to really kind of articulate it was the way I did in the cold open. Like when you move, right? When you
Mm-hmm.
move across town or across the country, there's just a physical, mental, and monetary cost to switching your location.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel mentally overwhelmed with tasks like rerouting the mail on your old address, updating all the addresses,
Mm-hmm.
closing out accounts at the first location and having to find doctors and open accounts and discovering work commutes and stuff like that, hooking up new services at your new location, right? There's all that work to be done.
Mm-hmm.
There's the physical stress of organizing and packing out of the one place and moving it and
Mm-hmm.
unpacking and reorganizing in the new place, right?
Yeah.
And finally, a financial strain with the cost of renting, moving trucks, equipment movers, travel costs, security deposits, whatever. You're not working or being productive during the time that it takes to move, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what about multitasking, right? Because thank you, Ben. I got some throat coat tea here from Janelle. Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle.
Um, so, what the reason I'm using that metaphor is because it's really about multitasking. Like you move essentially like probably 20 times a day inside
Mm-hmm.
your head, and
Yes.
all those costs factor in greatly. What's the cost of multitasking? Some psychologists say that switching tasks can cost us up to 40% of our productive time.
Oh man, I'm glad you're talking about this because this is something I've read about recently in several books. Gosh, I don't know if there's a lot of them, and heard about a different podcast. And so it's a thing. It's sneaky because for a while there, like I don't know, if it was the '90s or whatever, like multitasking was like really hot. Like I'm a good multitasker. Turns out, no, you're not.
Yep.
No, nobody's good at multitasking. It's what you do is you just jump from one task to another. So you're just always jumping from one task to another. You're not really multitasking. You're just single tasking, chopped up a bunch. And there's a cost to that. There's a cognitive cost to that. But that's what we're here to. I don't want to talk
Yeah,
everything
no,
out from under
all
you.
those things are right. And I mean, and it's like if you've ever had one of those days where you were so busy, uh, you know, doing everything but accomplish nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like you got nothing done. You've got like you just didn't get any projects done. That's you were a victim of the switch cost effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes interruptions are unavoidable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's good to let an interruption happening because by especially on tasks that you hate, right? Like there's everybody's got the paperwork that they don't like to do as part of the
Yes.
job, you know. Um, for me, accounting just put a gun to my head. Like, don't,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm going to hell in the afterlife, Brent, I'm going back as an accountant. Like that's what's going to happen. I'm going to be
Yeah.
like, no. But when I have an issue when I'm trying to do stuff in accounting or whatever, and I get too close to it, sometimes it's good to be interrupted, to walk away from it, right?
Yeah, you need a break, but that's different.
Yeah, you clear the memory cache in your brain. You can easily come back and identify this. You actually save time by coming back. You're like, oh, it
Mm-hmm.
was right here the whole time. I'm such a moron. I was so
Yes.
focused on something. But here's the best ways to combat this switch cost effect,
Oh,
guys.
I was going to
Because
say, dive into that a little bit more. Like they've done like psychological or whatever business research on this, where they'll have people reading, say, an article or something, and they're checking their like reading comprehension. One group is just reading it, answering questions, or doing some task without distraction. And then they'll have another group which will get like a phone call in the middle of it, or have them check their email a couple times in the middle of it, and their productivity goes way down. Their cognitive function, their grasp of what they're doing slows down. That you don't just swap right back over to what you're doing before. You got to catch up. There's residue. I think they call it attention residue that is still on you when you're switching. So it does cost you time. It's not as effective. There's a movement more toward deep work, about just get
yeah,
away, turn. Hal Newport has a book that's on my list to read eventually. I haven't gotten it yet, but it's my one of these days books called Deep Work. That's talking about the power. That's going to be the superpower of the future is going to be attention and focus, because we're all
yeah,
over the place all the time. And so if you can focus in on what you're doing and really give it your attention without all that residue, without all the switching costs, it's be like a superpower.
right. So okay, so let's go down this rabbit hole a little bit,
Yes.
just on why it happens. I like this, and then you actually teed me up for some ways to avoid it, right?
Good, because I want to tee
Um,
up like why this matters, why you want to avoid it, why it really matters.
yeah. So I mean, there's essentially like two what they call primary task switching paradigms. There's task set reconfiguration. So when we change tasks in our mind, our brain takes time to reorganize itself for the new challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And switch preparation or practice can sometimes reduce but not eliminate the switching costs in that set. But there's also what they call task set inertia. And switching costs occur not because your brain is so much preparing for the next task, where, you know, like I previously mentioned, if you're preparing or you're practicing on switching tasks, you've done you're making the switch to the new task as efficient as possible with regards to what has to happen with the new task. The
Mm-hmm.
problem is that you're not. It's the inertia that's where the cost is coming from, right? Because
So
it's not about
inertia is objects in motion tend to stay in motion, objects at rest tend to stay at rest. So whatever you're doing, there's an inertia that wants you to continue doing that. If you're not doing it, you want to continue not doing it, and you have to do
yeah,
something to change that.
it's not that your brains are preparing for the next task. You're still stuck in the last one, right? And you
Yeah.
gotta, and that it takes time to clear that out, right? Then
You
the
know that
second thing,
gravitational pull you feel like if you're going straight on a road, then all of a sudden you hit a turn.
yeah,
That's the inertia. You
that's
you want to
inertia.
keep going straight, right? And you feel the G's when you
Yeah,
make that sharp turn at a speed. That's what you're doing mentally when you're switching tasks after you've been on one for a little bit, right?
that's right. That's right. And what do you do when you switch tasks? So there's two complementary stages every time you switch a task, right? You switch goals. It's called
Mm-hmm.
goal shifting. So you're adding and deleting goals to our working memory as needed, right? And that takes a minute. And then there's rule activation. So a pause between goal shifting and response selection. It enables the current test selection rules, and it disables the previous ones, right? Like, okay, now
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on this. So accounting, right? I'm balancing my checkbook, very finite. Now I'm going to switch over to writing a song, completely different set of guardrails, right?
Yes.
and that's what costs the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you shift too often, right, you're reducing the quality of your work. Um, it affects how much information we retain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're researching or something like that, you have to be careful with that because it affects the efficacy of how much sticks in your brain, right?
Yeah.
For songwriters, this one, number three, is huge. And for creatives, right? It impedes flow.
Mm-hmm.
Flow is something that I covet, and I get annoyed when I'm pulled out of the flow
Yeah.
unnecessarily, you know? And I'm annoyed even when I'm necessarily pulled out of the flow where I have to go do this other thing. It screws up your flow because it takes a while for your brain to get back into the flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes as much as like 19 minutes to pull back in. So that's something I've tried to like, share with Janelle, like, when I'm working at home or something, if I'm in this creative thing, whether
Leave me
it's,
alone, woman.
yeah, because I mean, coming out of it to answer like which dress you should wear tonight or what, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, whatever it may be, it's like, okay, it's costing me 20 minutes now to get back to where I was, because I
Because
had,
that conversation is different than the one you're having in your head and doing the work stuff. I was thinking about that too. Like, if all of a sudden Emily Bebop's in here and she has some question about something that that matters because it matters to her, or whatever. But it's like I got to get in a different headspace. She's like, whoa, hold on, let me adjust here, or I'm going to respond in a way that is my work self. That might be just like very direct and very
yeah,
boom that, and you're like, oh, well, different set of rules here, different set of rules with my
yep,
lady.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, you know,
exactly. I mean, and raise your hand if you're listening to my voice and you've responded in the wrong brain and gotten your damn self in trouble. I don't like, it's real. The struggle's real.
That's why the commute can be an important thing because it gives you that time for that task switching to go. I'm moving
Good
from
point. Good
from
point.
songwriter guy to or whatever I'm doing. Drive, goal accomplishment to relationship guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I'm dad. Now I'm husband. And boy, when you don't have when you work from home or you're in and out of that, it can throw you. It needs some of that commute time.
Yep. And the number four thing that's
Mm-hmm.
sort of negative on this, it leads to decision fatigue.
Mm,
So if you're making too many decisions,
yeah.
everything shuts down. You end up not making enough or any.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're in one thing at a time and you're really hyper focused on that, you're going to make better decisions and you're actually going to complete the set of decisions you need to make to complete that project, as opposed to getting a little bit farther along on five different projects at the same time,
But none of
where
them as well.
yeah, you're not doing any of them well, right? You're causing yourself decision fatigue. You're impeding your flow,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not retaining a lot of the information, right? Because every time you do a new project, you learn something new, right? So how much of that are you going to remember?
I mean, dude, I've been there. I remember one time with when Ozzy was real little, my son, and Emily was off somewhere running around, and so it was a Saturday because I remember there was a Razorback game on, football game,
Hmm.
and I'm like watching that and hanging out with Ozzy, and guess what? I didn't do either of them well
Yeah,
because my attention was like switching back and forth, and he was frustrated, and I was frustrated. Eventually, I just turned the TV off. It was like I chose the better option and to do one thing well, and he was the obvious better,
yeah,
more important option, right? Can't turn him off. Watch the game, right? Okay, let's. And you know what? We had a good time. I was a better dad. I was less frustrated. He was less frustrated because he had my attention, and I wasn't switching. It wasn't exhausting. It became life giving. And so part of it, I would say, you want to choose the important thing, right? Do that. Cut out the other
yeah,
stuff. So because even just going, I'm going to hop over here and check email or whatever. There is decisions to be made even when you jump off to something else and what else you're going to jump off to. All those are little micro decisions that chip away at your decision fatigue. And so you want to pick the important thing. What's the effective thing, not just the busy thing,
right,
and then
right.
focus on that.
And I mean, and the final like sort of negative on this, it wastes a boatload of time. Like every
Mm-hmm.
time you switch tasks, and these are based on all these incredible psychological studies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every time you switch tasks during the workday, you lose around 23 minutes of concentration.
Yeah.
And considering that you change your focus on average of 15 times a day,
You're never
it's
really in.
yeah, imagine how little work you're getting done. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
that leads a lot to
And hey, that's okay when you're working for the man. You're like, I don't like this job anyway. It's all going to be here tomorrow. I mean, it's not good. You want to give your best for your employer, but especially
mhm,
when you're working on your own stuff. And if you don't do it, it doesn't get done. And you're trying to build your way out of your day job or build a career, dude, that all matters. There's
yeah,
not enough time of the day as it is.
yep. So there it is. I mean, this is why it's bad. Let's talk about how you can kind of reduce or minimize it, right?
All right.
So number one, start your day with a plan. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
prioritizing time management can help you avoid the switch cost effect. So before you begin your workday, take a few minutes to review your to-do list
Mm-hmm.
and make a plan for the day. Prioritize. Like I got to get this done first, and then this, and then this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you know what needs to be done, and also when it needs to be done,
Mm-hmm.
you're less likely to switch tasks because you're, you know what, you're really now you're on the search for the dopamine hit, right? Of
Yeah. Yeah.
the line through that task on your to-do list, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, there are many tools and techniques that you can use here to help you plan if you struggle with poor time management. So, a great place to start is with a straightforward method like task batching, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's a time management strategy where you group similar tasks together and work on them in blocks. One for instance is you might batch all your email correspondence together into one block of time at the end of the day, or handle all your phone calls in a morning block. Grouping similar tasks and repeating cognitive processes helps you reduce task switching and its cost. Brent, we're doing that today, right?
Yes.
Because we stack up podcasts, right? Where we've got
Mm-hmm.
3 or 4 episodes that we're going to do today. We stack them up so we're in the groove of focusing on our podcast and being hosts and song title challenges, etc. And the work is better because of it, and we
Yep.
get more done, so we can get a couple, 2-3 weeks worth of content done in a few hours
Mm-hmm.
in one day when we batch them together. So,
Exactly. And also even like little things like paying bills. Okay. So
mhm.
do you just pay bills when they come in, or do you, like I have a thing now, like twice a month is when I pay the bills that aren't on auto draft or whatever. And so what happened, because there are all these little things, if you just pay them just kind of throughout the month, well, guess what? I got to get out the stamps, get out the checkbook, write it out, and all that kind of stuff. And guess what? If I batch them, I got to pull out the stamps once. I
Yeah,
gotta, that kind of stuff. It's more efficient. I'm in that headspace. Knock it out, done. Take one walk to the mailbox instead of 4
5.
throughout the
Yeah,
month, right? Just to take that, whatever that is. Like even those little things. But that's a picture of what it is every time you're switching, because it maybe just be login. Oh, I got to go log back into my email. Maybe you don't keep it open. I got to log back into this. Or I got to log into that. All that stuff adds up. You're just like, I know people. Tim Ferriss with the 4-hour work week. He's big on batching and saying, "Hey, I have an email responder. I check my email at 11 and 2. If you need me other than that, call me. If you don't have my number, I guess it's not that important." Kind of thing.
brilliant, right? Like you're
Yeah.
telling them what to expect.
Yeah. So don't expect an email back from me between 12 and 1 or whatever.
Yeah,
12 and 2.
yeah.
Yeah.
So number 2 here, man,
Mm-hmm.
this is Brent. You've touched on this in previous episodes before, but you've touched on it under the context of songwriting,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not only songwriting; it's creative energy for working on your business as opposed to in your business, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But set aside time. Number 2 is set aside time for deep work, right?
Yes.
Deep work is defined as professional activities performed in a state of distraction free concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to their limit.
Mm-hmm.
That's a songwriting session, is it not?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be
And also,
without the
where you're,
distraction, and you're focused in on that, and you want to get better than you could normally get if you're all distracted. Yeah.
right. And it can be analytical when you're looking at all your posts on
Mm-hmm.
social media and you're looking at, okay, well, this works, this doesn't work. So I'm going to do more of this and less of that,
Mm-hmm.
you know? It's the deep work is on the surface. It's the opposite of task switching. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
um, but in one of the studies, a doctor named Newport, his deep work rules suggest
Cal
how we can.
Newport, right? Cal
What's that?
Newport? Is it Cal
Yeah,
Newport? Yeah, that's a
yeah.
book, Deep Work. That's on my list.
There you go. So
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a little bit about that book, right? So
Nice.
his rules suggest how we can schedule deep work into our schedules. Amongst them are, Brent, tell me if any of these sound familiar. Ritualize it, right?
Yes.
Pick a specific place and time to do deep work and stick to an organized plan. No phone calls, no emails.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're there to do deep work and you have to do the deep work.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads to possible number 2, boredom, right? Like, it says embrace the boredom, right? Because you're
Mm-hmm.
like, well, I'm here to do some deep work.
Which
What
means
deep work
not.
am I going to do?
Yeah, it means not constant dopamine hits,
In a lot of
right?
ways, deep work is, Brent, like it occurs to me right now that you've summed this up where you're talking about the difference between the good writers and the great writers is, if you're just waiting for the muse to show up and then
Mm-hmm.
that's when you're going to write.
Mm-hmm.
That's one way of doing it. But if sit down to write, you're basically summoning the muse, and
Yeah.
maybe it takes a half hour to
Mm-hmm.
get her there, but she comes, right?
Yeah.
If
Mm-hmm.
if you're there. And so in order to do that though, you got to be focused on the summoning of the muse.
Right.
And if you're not embracing the boredom, right? And you're
Mm-hmm.
on your social media, you're on your device, you know, don't take regular breaks. Just be still and think and let it come, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, on some deep work rules is drain the shallows, right? Spend less time on busy work.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on deep work by scheduling blocks like in advance,
Yes.
So focusing on a specific task during deep work reduces the chance of task switching, resulting in better task performance and lower switching costs. I mean, y'all know like what it feels like when you're just super freaking creative, right? You just have a
Mm-hmm.
great day where you just got so much accomplished. And I promise you, if the next time you feel this, or if it happened recently, and you go back and you really think, you're like, I had a lot less switching costs that day.
Yeah.
So how do you do more of that? There it is. So,
I
so
think of like content creation. People will do a content creation day. I've been thinking about that myself. Like, I need to do more stuff on like Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts and that kind of stuff. And so I've been pondering that. I've been experimenting with some of that stuff just a little hair lately, and like, oh well, there's all this kind of stuff that goes with that.
yep.
Getting camera ready a little bit. And I'm a dude. I don't have to get very camera ready, but whatever. Throw on a shirt and a hat.
Well, you got to set all that
But
stuff up.
there's
If you're gonna
stuff.
do
There's
live
maybe a
stuff.
little bit of
Yeah.
lighting. There's getting like subject matter. What am I going to talk about? And so I was just seriously thinking last night, going, okay, I just need to block it, and I can come up with a couple weeks worth of these short little piece of advice or whatever. And then then I can knock them out recording, because once you kind of get in a groove, you can knock a bunch out, and then I can send it to Ren and train him on like when to upload them and schedule them on YouTube. And like, it'd be much more efficient that way. I'm gonna be better than going, oh, it's Tuesday, I need to do the thing because I got to post on Tuesday, and it's Tuesday, I'm going to do it now. Okay, what am I doing? Get my head right.
Yep.
Just pick that content day. Change shirts in the middle if you want to look like you didn't do it all in one day. That's cool. Whatever.
We do that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
We do that a lot. So that was number 2. Set aside time for your deep work. Number 3, break down big projects into smaller tasks.
Mm-hmm.
Big jobs feel overwhelming, right? My parents used to always say, you got to eat the elephant one bite at a time.
That's
Like you
right.
can't sit there and spend half a day lamenting how the heck are you going to eat this elephant? There's only one way to do it. So
Mm-hmm.
when you get overwhelmed, see, that's when it becomes tempting to switch to a different task or procrastinate by multitasking, right? Resist the urge.
Mm-hmm.
If a job
And also uncertainty, not sure what to do next, drives me to my phone. But if
Yep.
you break it down into smaller tasks, you know what the next task is, because you have that list, right? So when
To do list.
I have a to-do list. So when I'm putting together like a play for a publisher event, man, I have all these tasks. I have a playbook, all these things to check off. A lot of it, Ren is handling more of it now, and I can follow along. But then if I'm not sure what to do, I don't have to do prepare for the next play for publisher. No, I have to choose a guest. I have to reach out to the guest. I have to choose the date. And then it's all broken down step by step. One, so I don't miss stuff. And two, I can keep up with where I am and I know what the next thing is. So I'm less likely to go, I'm not sure what the next thing is. Well, what's going on in email?
Yeah.
So having
Yeah.
that list, breaking it down, it helps you beat some of that uncertainty, which, like, I know for myself, man, it drives me to a dopamine hit somewhere else because it's
Yeah, so,
easier.
creating a sub list, right? Like a way to resist the urge, to go to multitasking.
Mm-hmm.
If you know that a job can't be completed in one work session, take a step back and determine how to approach it step by step, and then make
Mm-hmm.
each one of those steps a line item instead of the big job, right?
Right. Yep.
So, creating a time management matrix, you have that on your calendar, Brent. You
Mm-hmm.
know, this will help you break down your tasks and prioritize them based on importance and urgency. So, if you're working on this lengthy report, let's just say take a non-music example, you might break it down into tasks like, okay, on this session, I'm going to do research for the report. Then on this session,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to create the outline, and then on this session, I'm going to write the draft. It's that it's that kind of a thing. If we use a music example, it'd be like setting aside time to do song title challenges,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
where you're like, oh, great, and then you write those down, and now you've got some really solid ideas on that title. Maybe you're not going to write the song right then and there. Maybe you are, but
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, uh, just switching that title on all of a sudden to get prioritized higher in your hook book
Mm-hmm.
is a really cool way of moving forward. But yeah, if you have a list of smaller tasks by order of importance, focusing on completing one at a time, this is going to help you avoid multitasking and task switching. You're more productive. You stay on track.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Number four is the 80-20 rule. It's the old Vilfredo Pareto, the Pareto
Yes.
law, right? Or Pareto, the 80-20 rule, Pareto's law. And that'll help you minimize task switching, increase your productivity. I guess it's not called a law; it's called a principle. But
Ah.
in 1908, Vilfredo Pareto, or 1909, excuse me, Vilfredo Pareto. This rule suggests it's where he wrote about this. We can achieve 80% of our goals with 20% of our efforts.
Mm.
So that principle just is so wide ranging across everything, right? 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your customers. I mean,
Yeah.
but you know this to be true. Like it's that day when you're really super proud of yourself because you just felt so productive.
Yeah.
It's because you applied a little bit of effort and got so much done, but it was completely focused effort.
Yeah.
So you got way more done in 20% of your time. And wow, how great is that? You know what I mean?
Oh, heck
So
yeah.
you focus on the right things, right? So you can use the 80-20 rule to reduce task switching. Identify 20% of the tasks that will give you the most results, right?
Mm-hmm.
Make these your priority and then either delegate or schedule the other 80% of your tasks. Delegate or schedule, right? And that's a really
Yes.
good way to find out how to delegate, by the way. Now, side note, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people have trouble delegating when they're like, in the time it takes me to teach you to do it, I can just do it myself. But to get somebody else to do it and get them in a groove, let me tell
Yeah.
you.
Heck yeah. Oh, yeah. I know. Sometimes it feels like, oh man, it's gonna take time to get the training together to train somebody to do this. They're not gonna do it exactly like I would, but you know what? Like 90% done by somebody else is 100% awesome.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
it comes back. I mean, I'm so glad I've trained Ren on doing some stuff. I know you're glad you trained him on how to edit the podcast. Thank you,
It's
Ren.
been a
You're doing a
long
great job,
time
son.
since I edited a podcast. Yeah, thank
And
God.
how much time
Thank
does
you,
that,
man.
free you up to do something only you can do? That's what I'm working toward too. Like, how do I offload to interns or Ren or whatever, or just eliminate so that I can focus on what I need to be focused on?
Because when you talk about delegating, I mean, that's the other thing. Like, where it takes time to learn how to delegate it and maybe time to train somebody to delegate on them on what to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's time well spent, because if you're having to do that, you're also you're probably spending 3 times the amount of time it takes to get that task done, because you can't stand to do that task.
Right. Find somebody who likes doing that stuff, because there's
Yeah.
somebody who likes it.
Like for me, accounting,
Yeah.
Um, and then the final one here is, and I got a bonus one after this, but put away distractions, right? So
Mm.
uninterrupted focus is absolutely crucial, guys. We're deluged with distractions, phones,
Mm-hmm.
social media, colleagues, family members, kids, all that stuff. You need to find ways to minimize distractions. So a few things you can do: obviously turn off your phone or just remove it from the workspace. I do
Uh,
this a lot when I take meetings. I'll go into the writing room, take a meeting, and I'll leave my phone in the office, because I
yeah.
don't. All I need to do is focus on the person in that room at the time.
Yes.
Um,
Unplug
disable.
the TV if you're like riding on the couch in your living room.
Yeah,
Put the remote control right beside the TV and unplug the TV. So it's not easy to go, oh man, I'm uncertain, or this little road bump. Let me just see what's on,
I wonder what
whatever.
they're saying on ESPN about the game last
Oh,
night.
exactly. Yeah. Whew.
So, and by the way, social media notifications, right?
Turn those
Disable
suckers
them on your
off.
computer, on your phone.
Airplane mode. It ain't just when you're 35,000 up. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. There you go. Giddy up, right?
Yeah.
Work in a quiet environment if possible. This one's tricky. I'm going to give you a little scoop on this. So, set boundaries with friends and family members.
Mm-hmm.
So there's times when you're being creative, Brent, and you use a phrase that I've stolen from you, which is, fire, flood, or blood, right?
Right.
I don't need to hear from anybody unless the house is on fire or flooded or somebody's lost an arm. Like
Yeah.
then I need to know.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I don't need to know, and whatever it is can wait. Uh, Making contracts with your significant other. It sounds maybe sterile and sooty, kind of, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not. I, you know, I've done this with Janelle now. I did it like in my previous marriage,
Mm-hmm.
where I was because I was multitasking, and we
Mm-hmm.
talked about how when you're multitasking, you actually do a really crappy job of everything, right? Well,
Yeah.
one of those crappy jobs was like connecting with my wife, and
Yeah.
and so then that was manifesting itself in the forms of her stepping into my time in hallowed
Mm-hmm.
ground, right, where I'm mixing,
Mm-hmm.
or like, when I watch a Packer game, I just want to watch the game. I
Yeah.
unplug, I can focus on that, and it's just a time to not be. I don't want to have a heart to heart. I don't want to talk about your feelings. I don't,
Right.
when I'm doing those things. But creating the contract where it's like, hey, I'm going to come home every day, and for first half hour to 45 minutes, I'm home. Like, we're just going to talk about you, and we're going to reconnect,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna get that out of the way. And in exchange, fire, flood, or blood when I'm mixing, right,
Mm-hmm.
in the studio and during the Packer game. So those contracts actually super effective.
I know when I started working from the house a lot more, um, I bought one of those little like business hours thing from like Office Depot, and I
Oh
would
yeah,
write my business hours for the week and have it posted where Emily could see it. And I'm making a contract with her going, okay, so when I'm done. You don't have to think, is he gonna be in there all day? So she can keep her powder dry. If there's something she wants to talk about, cool. Brent's off at 3 or whatever. And I know that I need to knock off at 3, or it's okay. I don't need to work right now because I have business hours for the week. I won't get back to this. It's all right. We've agreed upon this. I keep it in these hours. It's good. And another thing I think about too is building that muscle of being present. If you're doing the deep work and you're not constantly distracted, it builds that muscle of being present, being where you are, which is going to pay dividends when you're talking to your loved one, when you're playing with your
Mhm.
kids, when you're doing anything. You're like, oh, I'm building this muscle of being present with you. Like I keep the phone, I sometimes I just have to go in and put the phone on the shelf, when it's family time. I'm not perfect about it, but I try to, like, Emily's like, why are you on your phone? Like, put it up. I'm on kid time now. I don't need to be on phone time. I don't need to be checking. Nothing's going to happen that important that I need to
Yep.
check my email. Because what am I going to do about it anyway? Am I going to respond to it right now? No, I can't really do that. I
You're
mean,
not going to
nothing's
respond to it well if you do.
If I do, no. Put it up, focus where you are. So you're building that muscle too during your business time. That's going to just definitely positively affect your
Yeah, so I
personal
mean, that's
time
one
as
of
well.
them here is like let people know when you're unavailable, right? You
Hmm.
talked about that with the 4-hour work week before,
Hmm.
and you just did it with your hours. Like, hey, here's when I'm unavailable, right?
Hmm.
I'm not available during these times. Leave me alone.
Right.
And some people, noise canceling headphones might be a trick,
Hmm.
right? Where you're less likely to bounce off the walls there, so to speak. And
Yeah.
there's also digital tools, you guys, that you can use uh, that are like focus apps that'll block distracting websites and stuff like that. Look into that.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. But reducing distractions, you're more conducive to deep work and minimizing task switching. So that's the first five. I'm going to give you a bonus one here. Bonus tip: make time for nothing.
Mm.
So everything's so super fast today. Short attention span, theater, it's just boom, 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 right? And sometimes we feel like we have to have a competitive advantage. We must always be productive, right?
Yeah.
But we shouldn't and we can't. You're human. You can't be productive 100% of the time. You need the downtime, right? And in fact, the more you push yourself to be productive, you reach a point of diminishing returns
Hmm.
where you're going to actually enter into more cost, more switching, which is
Hmm.
costing you more, getting less done, right? So you can, spend your nothing time um, where you just simply be, right? You're just doing nothing, right? You can enjoy the silence. You can take a walk, meditate. You can surf
Yeah.
the web, right? Any relaxing activity you find pleasing. Go down some rabbit holes. Find out exactly what those demos from Van Halen sounded like before they started working with Ted Templeman. Ask me how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Like, wow, it's fascinating how they redid that song. So
Hmm.
cool.
It's important. And another thing is if you scheduled it, then you
Yeah,
can say, I can be off work now.
with no
It's
guilt.
okay with no guilt. It's like a budget. If you budget for your food and your groceries and your rent or your mortgage, then like you budget everything, then you can spend what's budgeted for that without guilt and without stress because you know what? Every dollar has a name on it. And now you have just like every hour, every minute has a name on it. And now
Yeah.
these minutes or these dollars are assigned to go have fun, whatever. And you can go,
So
oh, I just want to buy a book for myself or I want to go to the movie. I can do that without stressing over it because it already has that's what it's there for. So I can go take a walk, spend time with family, just read a book, watch a mindless movie, watch a ball game, and that's cool because I know I
exactly.
got the other stuff covered.
Exactly. And listen, like I was talking to you before about making a contract with your loved ones, right? Like
Hmm.
this is when I'm available, this is when I'm not available. You're also doing this, what you're talking about, Brent, is doing that with yourself, like
Yeah.
with your brain. Hey, we're gonna shut it down right now. I am off the clock and I'm gonna do whatever I want to do on the internet here. I'm gonna go down this Van Halen rabbit hole.
Hmm.
I'm gonna watch some reels and just chill. And
Hmm.
by doing that and disengaging, you're really sort of, as you say, keeping your powder dry for the more deep work, the more creative study. It's going to help you better when you're trying to be creative. So
Like, yeah.
that's it, man. Maximize productivity by minimizing the switch cost effect. It's a cognitive phenomenon, guys. It's a real thing, and it's been the subject of psychological research for decades, right? So
Hmm.
mastering this matters, and they say change isn't easy, and it rarely happens instantly or seamlessly. If you think about this, we're all bitching about the music industry now and how much it's changed, and it change often has lingering effects. Well, there's a cost to change.
Hmm.
And if you've put your focus on how much you just changing tasks throughout the day costs you, right? You can
Hmm.
really find that room to do those extra things that you need better by focusing on this. So that's all I got to say about that.
Love it. Love it.
All right, guys. Well, that takes us to the end of another Killer Climb episode, man. Download my free PDF for hanging out throughout the whole way. It's entitled "Whoever Owns the Traffic Rules the Road." And that's what you need to be focused on the digital platforms like everything manifests from that. If you own the traffic, everything else comes into view. Everything else is achievable. You can get that at giftfromjohnny.com, Johnnny, giftfromjohnny.com. Just tell me where to send it. It's free to you. And we'll be happy to shoot that your way. This podcast exists because we want you to win. So keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.